Next week, we are having another themed week on the Music Minute. We'll let you guess for now what that theme is. No, I'm not dying. No, not quitting and going to Tibet to be a monk or becoming a shepherd in the Highlands of Scotland, although that one's tempting. We'll put up a theme for the week, and next week we'll see if you've been able to guess what exactly it is. For now, on with the music. We have over 100 years of wonderful recorded music out there. So why do most people listen to the same 100 songs? Like the treasures on the shelves of a thrift shop, there are so many great songs out there waiting for us to find. Let's find those treasures together. I am David Rankin, and this is the Old Mill Shop. Greetings, fellow shoppers. Welcome to the Old Mill Shop. Today we'll talk about new albums of the month. Albums that are new in January and February that I think are worth at least one listen to. First one I discovered was Belle and Sebastian, Late Developers. I was pulled in by the first song off this album, a throwback to 80s pop songs, I Don't Know What You See in Me. The song, the album is kind of funky. It's definitely an 80s flashback in the one song, and I think it's worth at least one listen through in Apple Music, even the most cynical of music listeners. So give Belle and Sebastian, Late Developers a try. The second is Margot Price, Strays. Miss Price is working through a fusion of Americana meeting rock and roll, and the combination works with her. Change of Heart's the first single. You can tell it's not quite rock and roll, it's not quite Americana, it fits right in together. Got a lot of country kitsch without being country at all, much more kind of country rock, country pop, but not country at all. The song works as a solo about how she has had a change of heart about her lover, and the song draws you in for the entire album. Again, Apple Music or YouTube, take a listen through. Caroline Polachek, Desire, I Want to Turn Into You. To be honest, I'm really not sure how this album got here. I listened to the song a couple of times. The first time I turned it off, and it's like, man, I'm not sure about this. Then I started listening to Sunset again, and I had to listen to the whole song. It's kind of folky, world music, pop music, and it just got in my head, and I've had to listen to it. So I'm going to listen to the whole album. That's worth a mention in an album list, I would expect. Caroline Polachek, Desire, I Want to Turn Into You. And our fourth for new album of the month is definitely going to have limited taste. Dane, Shapeless, and that's with a lowercase s. Dane is a electropop, electronica singer. She's a protege of Charlie XCX. She is producing young kids' version of electronica ECM, definitely electropop music. So if you're not an ECM person, if you're not an electropop person, this is not going to be your cup of tea. But if you do like to dance and like dance music, it's going to have at least a limited taste. One playthrough at the very least. Give it a shot. It seems like something that'd be worth dancing to. So, Dane, Shapeless.
Today's 2-for-1 special. She Ain't No Southern Girl by Dave McKenzie.
I apologize for the repeats on the Music Minute this week. I had hoped to get ahead in this week and be able to maybe have some start on next week's recordings. Mr. Virus had other ideas. I am still recovering, but the show must go on. So here's the Music Minutes that we had this week. The Vintage Corner, Yellow Dog Blues by W.C. Handy, Big Old Girls by Dave McKenzie, Butterfly by Crystal Wells, Champagne Taste by Home Free, and today was Cod Liver Oil Coulee by the Barney Lads. And please note the comment that I'm putting there about the possibility of another name. After I recorded the Music Minute, I found another band name that they may have recorded under, because the YouTube video is a bit sped up from the recordings I've heard, but it sounds exactly the same, a little bit fast. So the 2-for-1 special is She Ain't No Southern Girl by Dave McKenzie. I had to pick a second song off of Dave McKenzie's album Solo. The album is just such a rich target for songs to talk about. I could talk about each one separately. I could talk about the whole album together easily. She Ain't No Southern Girl is a fun song. song. A true Southern might call Kentucky the South Light, but even for a Kentuckian like me, this song still rings true. It's so easy to see a person who's been here years, but didn't grow up here, versus someone who grew up in one of the big cities without exposure to the South, versus someone who grew up out in the country and is a Southern belle at heart. Especially true when you get someone who talks about the old expression, bless your heart. Now, this is a Southern woman's secret weapon. A true Southern woman can make bless your heart mean anything between I'm sorry that you're not that smart to I'm sorry but not sorry that you're headed to the hot place down below, and everything in between. Let's listen to Dave McKenzie talk about how he knows that this person he's seeing ain't no Southern girl. A couple of months ago, I noticed several big-name music writers were selling their publishing right to all their albums and all their music. This surprised me because most of the songwriters that I know of have fought. If they didn't have their music rights, they fought to get them back. Paul McCartney fell into a terrible row with Michael Jackson because Michael Jackson bought the Apple publishing library away in an auction and didn't let Paul McCartney and Yoko Ono buy it out. So it's surprising to see people selling theirs, especially with the new trend of people regaining copyright over their album masters. But if you look at it, both of them are easily explained by streaming. The original traditional record contract gave a significant royalty chunk to the songwriter right off the top. That's why modern pop singers demand to get their name put on a song if they're going to be in the album. Everyone from Elvis on down has said, if I sing your song, I want my name beside yours so I get a chunk of the songwriter money. This is because in albums, the real money in an album was in the songwriting and then in the concerts afterward. So a group would often sign away ownership of the album for a percentage of the royalties, figuring that they actually were making a better deal rather than owning the album but having to pay all the expenses. The old joke here was that the lead singer and songwriter of a band would be up in first class with his guitar having its own seat, while the drummer was in the back row barely able to afford a ticket for the plane. Albums created after 1978 that passed 35 years in age, if you've signed a contract to give away rights to your recording or to your book or any other copyright, you could file paperwork with the Copyright Office and reclaim that copyright. This allows artists to get control of their masters and have all of the royalties associated with the recording. Other than the publishing royalties, the artists will then own all of the recording royalties. Since these two items carry separately, they have separate rights and they have separate payment levels. Publishing rights have primarily been paid against records and concerts. Radio stations were originally exempt from publishing rights on the theory that the song being played on the radio actually advertised the sheet music. Although records were being made at this point, the concept of record royalties weren't really occurring, so the concept was a bit parallel. When you got your money from radio, you get your money from the recording royalties rather than the publishing royalties. Well, now streaming and YouTube are putting together a similar model. For YouTube and for Apple Music and for Spotify and such services, publishing royalties are paid, but they are such a pittance compared to the record royalties that an artist is much better off trying to sell their recording royalties to generate cash now and then live off of the recording royalties of the masters that they own that are then streamed, because the large majority of the money paid for a recording is for the master. This is why, for example, that Taylor Swift is re-recording all of her album. She is attempting to get all of the royalties from masters by controlling that her copy is streamed, not universal. So now songwriters like Bob Dylan, seeing the writing on the wall, are cashing in and selling the recording royalties off to groups that are willing to look for long-term cash in return for paying a short-term windfall. And on that note, we reach the end of yet another Old Mill Shop. Keep searching for music that's new to you, and happy shopping.
Please come back for the next episode of The Old Mill Shop. Thanks to Apple for use of the Samantha voice. Thanks to Zapsplat at www.zapsplat.com for theme song and incidental music. Copyright David W. Rankin Jr., DBA The Old Mill Shop Music Experience.